You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Tuesday, happy Mars Day, and some final happy birthdays to the Sagittariuses of the world. Jonah Hill is celebrating a birthday today. I did not realize he was a Sagittarius. JoJo as well. Calvin Ridley. Who else? Anyone else? Dick Wolf. You probably recognize his name. I don't know if I've ever actually seen a picture of his face. Tomorrow there will be some Sagittariuses, some Capricorns, depending on when the sun moved into Capricorn, the year people were born. But today is the final day, the final full day of Sagittarius season, and we are all here to mark it together. Corby is here, a resident Sagittarius. Tanner is here as well. We have Nick here and Rachel. Hello. I'm so glad you're all joining me today. We're talking about Jupiter in Aries. Jupiter is officially in Aries now, and this marks the beginning of a 12-year cycle. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. We've talked about Jupiter in Aries before, actually. Jupiter did move into Aries earlier this year, but when it stationed retrograde, it went back into Pisces. This time, it's not going back, only forward through Aries. Yes, there will be a retrograde next year, but Jupiter moves in 12-year cycles, and Aries being the first sign marks the beginning of a new 12-year cycle. So we'll dive into what's to come for Jupiter in Aries, how the current energy might be feeling for you. I would love to hear if anybody has thoughts to share about the current energy. The sun is at 28 degrees of Sagittarius, maybe even 29 now. In fact, let's look at it as we're talking about the current energy. Yes, the sun is at 29 degrees of Sagittarius now, and the moon is in Scorpio. So, and Jupiter's at 0 degrees. So it's intense. It's intense still. It's a lot. Deep emotions might be coming up with the moon in Scorpio. The sun in Sagittarius at 29 degrees brings this feeling of restlessness, like we want freedom and expansion and growth, and we just want to be there already. And then now Jupiter at 0 degrees brings this sense of impulse and just do it and go for it. So you might be feeling a little bit antsy today, with some deep emotions coupled with it. Super fun. Hello, beauty. Oh, good. Corby says, feeling a lot better and more grounded today. Sunday and Monday were a doozy. I feel that. I definitely feel that. So just holding space for you wherever you are. The planets are doing a lot. It's coming up on the winter solstice tomorrow, which we will dive into during tomorrow's show, what the winter solstice means. But this is the darkest time of the year. It feels like here in Sacramento, where I live, it's been cloudy for like 3 days straight. The sun just finally came out in time for me to do this live stream. So yes, I'm right there with you, Rachel, feeling tired and drained, sensitive, and still heavy energy. We got this. We're going to get through it. And on top of that, it's the holidays, which can bring up some heavy emotions for people. So again, I just want to hold space for you wherever you're at. There are so many factors that we're all dealing with right now, but this is why we're here. We have each other to walk through life with and hold this safe space to talk about our emotions. Let's talk about Jupiter in Aries, though, because yes, it might be feeling restlessness today or a little bit antsy, impulsive, but Jupiter is going to be in Aries through May of next year. So we have plenty of time to sink into this transit. And on a day like today, we're really feeling the energy of like the raw energy of Jupiter and Aries with it at 0 degrees. So remember, let's just do a little refresher. Jupiter is the planet of abundance, growth, expansion, higher education. It's like a magnifying glass. Jupiter amplifies whatever sign it's in, whatever other planet it's connecting with. And Jupiter in Aries, you can think back to May 10th, May 11th of this year. We were experiencing this same energy from May 10th or 11th, depending on where you live, until I think October 27th, Jupiter was in Aries. So we are familiar with this energy. And it might be that you are kind of picking back up on a project you started during that time, or revisiting an idea that was birthed during that time. And now that Jupiter is in Aries for the long haul, you can really gain forward momentum on that area of your life, that growth, that expansion. So Jupiter in Aries specifically, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, there is this energy of starting something new, starting something fresh. It's like starting from a sprint. I almost am picturing in my head like a track race, right? And like the gun bang goes off and you just start sprinting. I say you because I am not a runner, but that's kind of like Jupiter and Aries, like bang, let's go. It's definitely the energy of just do it, let's go. So we have that momentum, and with Jupiter being the planet of optimism, we have plenty of optimism to back it up. Like, we got this, we're going full force, it's all going to work out. We have plenty of faith. It's like this raw energy. And with Aries being the sign of the warrior, we have that element as well. Like, we're going to do it no matter what. We're running towards victory. There's this stamina, this grit to push ahead, this unbridled passion and raw potential. This is a powerful energy for starting new things, starting new chapters, starting new projects, creating something new. And a great way to personalize this transit is to take a look at your chart and see which house Aries rules for you. That's probably where you'll see a lot of growth and expansion happening in your life over the next, 6 months now until mid-May. So remember, Aries energy can be impulsive. There is this tendency, especially while Jupiter is at 0 degrees for the next week or so, there is this tendency to just kind of like go for it without thinking things through. Too much passion, too much aggression, not always the best approach, right? So might want to check yourself before you go headfirst into something. Aries rules the head. So Jupiter in Aries is kind of like jumping headfirst into a project or expansion. And just to show you where the shadow of this transit could lie, the US entered both World War I and World War II when Jupiter was in Aries. And we talked about this a few months ago. Luckily, we're not on the precipice of World War as we know it now, but Aries is fighter energy, so there is this expansion of aggression and going for it. And it could, ruffle some feathers over the next couple months. Not predicting any war or anything like that, but just an interesting fact that we entered both world wars while Jupiter was in Aries. So the time to start something new, we might feel impulsive or spontaneous, like that gunshot just went off. We have a thirst for rapid expansion, for adventure. We want to feel free. We want to be able to just go for it. And our confidence is also amplified as well. All right. That's my tidbit on Jupiter and Aries. Let's see what you're all saying about it. Yeah, everybody's feeling that Scorpio moon. I can tell probably a little more than Jupiter and Aries right now. Rachel says, I bought some black tourmaline to help me get through the holidays. Beautiful. Corby said she decided to channel it into deep cleaning the house. The Artist's Way. Oh, that's awesome. I have that. I haven't read it yet, but I want to do one of my best friends is going to do an Artist Way group this year, and I think we're all going to do it together. Yeah. So this is pretty on point, Rachel. She says it's interesting because despite the heaviness, hello Scorpio moon, and winter solstice, that darkness that's really setting in, she says she feels the drive to be creative, going to keep preparing and starting something new after Mercury retrograde. So yes, we do have Mercury retrograde coming up at the end of next week. We're in the shadow period. It is an interesting time because it's dark, it's slow, it's hibernation season, but Jupiter's in Aries now and there's a lot of momentum. So even if it's just like brainstorming or thinking about all the ways that you can grow and expand in 2023, that might be a way to lean into the energy without burning yourself out. Because Jupiter in Aries, if we put too much raw energy into something, it's really easy to burn out. What a visual. Corby says, I'm not a runner either. Literally wrote earlier, I feel it's all going to work out in our favor. It is. It's all working out in our favor. Aries rules your 12th house, so there might be a lot of healing coming up for you, closure, maybe some spiritual elevation as well with Jupiter in Aries. Nick says Aries is his 5th house, so this should be an especially creative time for you. Same for you, Corby. And even in your 6th house, when it goes into your 6th house, you could find a new routine that helps you along your growth or expansion. The Artist Way has a routine component in it. So that's actually kind of perfect. The 5th house is the house of the artist, and the 6th house might help you kind of solidify an artistic or creative routine. I'm right there with you, Rachel. Aries rules my 8th, but takes up some of my 7th. So right now, expansion in relationships, partnerships, and then maybe some more witchy expansion for us as Jupiter moves into our 8th house next year. You got the House Your Stars Built too. A few of you have gotten that book now. So cool. Yes. Yes, I am right there with you. Nobody is hoping for World War III. But, Jupiter in Aries, Jupiter is the planet of long-term travel and expansion. And, remember the space war when everybody was trying to get to space? That could be sort of a war we see with Jupiter in Aries that hopefully would be more beneficial to humanity than a war here on Earth, right? So maybe this time around, Jupiter in Aries will be channeled into a more productive war or fight, right? Yeah. So Jupiter in Aries, it's big energy. It's big energy. And on this day where the sun is at 29 degrees and the sun in Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, we're really feeling that Jupiter energy. Today in particular, feels like a day where we could just get up and go do something spontaneously and be like, where did that come from? So you might even surprise yourself with Jupiter in Aries with a random idea and that you just want to jump headfirst into. And I'm still trying to think back to Jupiter in Aries earlier this year, what was started then that might have gotten put on the back burner or been reviewed while Jupiter was retrograde that can kind of regain momentum this time around. That's the only major transit we're talking about today, but I also think it's very synchronistic that Jupiter enters Aries the day before the winter solstice, the day before Capricorn season begins, just a few days before the new moon in Capricorn, which will be squaring Jupiter in Aries. So this is just the beginning of us talking about Jupiter in the sign of the Ram. And I also think it's synchronistic that Jupiter changes signs during its season, during Sagittarius season. Jupiter wants some attention from us. So, like I said, we will be continuing to talk about Jupiter, and this is just the beginning, a first taste of this fresh energy, this momentum that it's bringing. But now going from a high Jupiter in Aries to maybe I don't want to call it a lower vibration, but Scorpio energy does feel like it is lower, it's deeper, right? And that's where some of the heaviness, deep emotions, the need for release is coming in right now. We've been talking a lot about release over the past few days. And this is a waning crescent moon in Scorpio. The waning crescent moon, we're leading up to this new moon energy. It's all about surrender. It's all about letting go and letting the universe show you what to do. And the waning crescent moon in Scorpio is uncomfortable. It's like a purging energy, like cut it off, get rid of it, let it go, cut the cord. We can cut the cord on bonds no longer serving us. Deep emotions can come up to show us what needs to be released. But Scorpio energy can bring up fears and doubts as well. So it might not even just be this obvious, like that person needs to go, that situation needs to go. It might be emotions that want to be released or issues that want to be addressed so they can finally be resolved. Whatever is coming up now is asking to be cleared. It wants to be cleared from your body, from your mind, from your channel. And it can, like I said, be uncomfortable. If there's one sign that's the most uncomfortable, it's probably Scorpio, because it really wants us to face the truth of things, the harsh truth of things, the deep truth of things. The moon has made a couple different connections today. So yeah, let's talk about those. The waning crescent is big cut the cord energy. Yeah, especially because we're working our way towards the winter solstice. And I'll get into this more tomorrow when we really talk about the solstice, but the sun is at a standstill during the solstice. And it's when we start to gain more light in our days. So we're kind of in the darkest time. We're about to start a lot of new cycles. Jupiter in Aries, new moon in Capricorn is like this new opportunities, setting intentions for our long-term goals for 2023. This waning crescent moon in Scorpio is really like, what do you not want to bring into 2023 with you? And maybe also like, what bonds do you want to keep? You know, it might not all be about letting people go and cutting people off. It might be showing you what bonds are important to you, what energetic connections are important to you, and the noise that is just distracting you from that and needs to be cleared. So I don't know if he agrees, but I don't know if you can hear my dog. So when we say cut the cord, it's not always just like cut this person off or cut these people out. Sometimes it's about cutting the cord from an emotion or from a limiting belief or the things that are kind of clouding your emotional judgment. Tanner says, I was feeding the ether with an idea to film an observational documentary on a plant medicine travel retreat through Ecuador I planned when Jupiter was in Aries last. That would be super cool. A lot of people are interested in plant medicine retreats right now too. I'm sure that would be very popular and needed. You know, people want to see what that's about before they commit to going to another country and doing it. Good afternoon, Katie says, I shoveled snow like a madwoman this morning with Jupiter and Aries. That's the other thing. You expect more raw energy, like physical energy. Aries is all about our physical energy. So Jupiter and Aries could bring an expansion of physical energy and just a need to move, you know. So this is a great example of that, like feeling a lot of tension today within myself, right there with you. A lot of overwhelm generally, right there with you. Moving your body with Jupiter and Aries. You listen to what I'm sure you had to shovel the snow too. That was like an obligation, but it might have felt good to just kind of clear some of that tension physically. Hi, Elena. Happy you're here. Rachel says, I literally wrote today, I surrender to the unknown regardless of how much my body, my emotions, my mind resist it, laying down all my defenses and embracing the storm. I'm taking that with me. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, mic drop. Definitely. I'm going to come back to this and write that down for myself. That was really good. Let's talk about the different connections the Scorpio moon has made. And this is a great segue into that because overnight the moon formed a sextile to Mercury at 3 a.m. So what is that, 6 a.m. where you are probably, Rachel? And we're feeling this morning as well. The moon connecting with Mercury helps us process our emotions mentally, helps us understand things, using our words to process our emotions, even just kind of like contemplating our emotions mentally. Even if you were sleeping during this transit, and a lot of us were, right? Your dreams might have brought through some powerful messages as well. So let me show you what the current chart looks like. The moon's still in Scorpio right now, and there was that sextile to Mercury at 19 degrees overnight into this morning. You can also see, I don't know if we pointed it out yet, Jupiter officially at 0 degrees, the sun at 29 degrees. That alone, if you're feeling anxious or restless, like, give yourself some grace. That's a lot of critical, restless energy. So that connection to Mercury might have brought a little bit of understanding or helped you kind of lean into your words and your thoughts to process your emotions. Katie says, I feel some resistance to the light today. I'm more comfortable in the darkness and pain around the holidays, but I'm really trying to be open to what peace and joy can be available to me. Yeah, I think a lot of people can probably resonate with that, Katie. The holidays can be a dark time, and it's really easy to fall into the trap of like, this is a happy time, just be happy for the kids, Santa's coming, blah, 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 like it's holly jolly, all the things, and to deny how we actually feel. But also just give yourself grace. It's okay if it's not this picture perfect Christmas internally, even if that's what it looks like externally. And I'm feeling that as well. And also, this is a great segue into the next transit that many of us woke up feeling. The moon was squaring Saturn and harmonizing with Neptune at the same time. But when the moon squares Saturn, we can feel lonely, we can feel isolated, depressed, and yeah, it's a heaviness, especially with the Scorpio moon and Saturn in Aquarius. It can kind of make us feel like we just want to check out. And that trine to Neptune, yes, it can heighten our creativity, our imagination, and our intuition, but it also makes it very easy to check out into another fantasy, into another realm. And so you might have been feeling that today too. I know I certainly have, just kind of wanting to like float off on a cloud and be in my own little world, kind of the tendency to isolate. You might even be feeling more sensitive, sad, just like you want to take space, find your own little bubble and hide out and not really interact with other people today. That's the main Scorpio energy with the Scorpio moon that I would say we're feeling today. The most intense transit or the most intense connection that the moon has made today. Wow, Rachel says, Katie, literally, I heard a podcast today that directly reflects this. I'm so used to being in the dark, like merging myself in to avoid the light. And we need to find the balance of both. Yeah, yes. When you're used to being in sadness or darkness, sometimes that's your comfort zone, and like acknowledging like I'm more comfortable in this than I am in the light, or in like lighter energy and joy and happiness right now, that's okay too. Awareness is the first step. And, just saying like, okay, I want to be somebody who's more comfortable in lighter, happier situations. Baby steps. You don't have to become that person overnight, right? Acknowledging where you are, giving yourself grace, and also setting intentions to maybe like take one little step into a little lighter territory each day, and it'll get more comfortable. Yeah, be comfortable in the pain, but still reaching for that light. You're all just such beautiful supports for each other and for me, and I appreciate it. So yeah, this morning, maybe a little touchy, maybe a little sad, depressy. Here's where there could be a change, a shift happening tonight, emotionally at least. The moon's going to form a sextile to Pluto at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. This is the last connection that the Scorpio moon will make today, and it's a sextile, a 60-degree angle to Pluto at 27 degrees. So remember, the Scorpio moon's ruling planet is Pluto. Pluto rules Scorpio. And the moon forming a sextile to Pluto is just going to amp up that purging energy, that releasing energy, to lean into transformation, lean into the darkness, lean into the unknown, and cut the cord, let it go. Release, 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 release. This connection between the moon and Pluto tonight is only going to amplify that energy of release. And it's like we have to let the old die. We have to cut off stagnant energy. You know what it's really similar to? And it's so funny that I just made this connection because I have a bunch of split ends as I've been growing out my hair, but I like don't want to cut any length off because I'm trying to grow it out. But this feels like cutting off a split end. Like you've got to cut off the dead energy. This is your visual. Got to cut it off in order for the rest of your hair or your body or your mind or your soul to be healthy and not weighed down by the stagnant energy. The moon forming a sextile to Pluto is like cutting off a split end, cutting off dead ends, stagnant energy, stagnant connections, anything that's pulling your energy that doesn't feel good for you. The moon connecting with Pluto is just really helping us let it go. Yeah. Nick says, like that thought, cord cutting rather than people cord cutting, cutting away more from the darkness. Yeah, and that might be what you're cutting the cord to, like being comfortable in like cynicism, you know, it's really, I've noticed, especially on my spiritual journey, there are certain people who are just really comfortable being negative or sarcastic or complaining, and not because they're bad people or negative people. That's just what they're used to and what they're comfortable doing. And the more you kind of walk the path of light and trust and faith, the more you'll start to notice these people or situations or groups or environments that are a little bit more negative. So that could be the cord cutting, you know, like I'm not subscribing to that way of thinking anymore. I'm not letting that energy penetrate my field anymore. I'm not going to let other people's sadness or negativity weigh me down anymore. Corby says, so glad I'm here with you guys. This broadcast gives us the safe space to be transparent and vulnerable, and I am so thankful for that. Me too. Really. You don't know how much it means to me to be here with you today. Yeah, not going to fight or avoid the Scorpio Pluto energy later, Corby says. It's got to go, and I'm willing to let it go for good. Powerful, powerful. So yeah, the moon makes this connection to Pluto. It's like the final snip, the final cut, right? And then the moon goes void from 7 to about 11 p.m. So the energy goes a little quieter after that final purge, that final exodus. It really does feel like this final purge of 2022 because the moon won't be in Scorpio again in 2022. And yeah, the last Scorpio moon, the last waning crescent moon of 2022. Anything that needs to go, tonight's the night to let it go. You could even do a ritual. You know, you don't just have to wait for the full moon and the new moon to do rituals. If there is something that you need to release, doing a ritual around that, burning a candle, setting an intention, like you could literally write a note and rip it in half, burn it, whatever feels good to you. You are your own best astrologer. You are your own best witch. You know yourself the best, but doing magic under the void moon isn't necessarily favored, but maybe right around the time the moon forms a sextile to Pluto, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. It would be, if you're really looking for a release, a time to do a release ritual. But when the moon goes void, if anything too intense popped up earlier in the day, it's a time to resolve things, tie up loose ends. You can come back to the cord cutting visual for this, like you cut the cord, now you got to burn the loose ends so it doesn't keep fraying, right? So the void moon can kind of be looked at like that. How do we really close the book, close the chapter, tie anything up? Not a time to start anything new tonight, but a time for completion. Then, well, before we move on, let me see what you're all saying. Ooh, Katie, good stuff, always good stuff. Always good stuff from Katie. She says, it sounds like I need to accept the dark to move towards the light. This is my last Christmas before my progressed moon moves into Sagittarius, so it makes sense that I'd be feeling this final death. Yeah, and the Scorpio moon for all of us feels like this final death of 2022, like death to whatever needs to go so that it can be reborn in 2023. So we have room for this fresh energy, for all the things we want to start with Jupiter and Aries in 2023. But what's holding us back? Internally, externally, what's got to go? So speaking of the moon moving from Scorpio to Sagittarius, just like Katie's progressed moon is about to do, that's what's happening for all of us tonight. The moon The waning crescent moon is going to move into Sagittarius at 11:13 p.m. Pacific time, so overnight for anyone living farther to the east. And the waning moon in Sagittarius, yes, it's still the energy of release and surrender, but it feels more like having faith that it's all going to work out. After cutting the cord, the waning moon in Sagittarius is just like, trust. We know it's going to work out. We know something better is coming to fill the place of whatever we released. And in general, when the moon's in Sagittarius, we can expect to be more social, outgoing, generous, a little bit more carefree. Optimism feels natural, and we might even find ourselves being more spontaneous, especially tomorrow with the moon in Sagittarius, the sun at the 29th degree. And you know what? Let me find out what time. Yeah, so the sun will be at the 29th degree of Sagittarius for the first half of the day tomorrow, and the moon will also be in Sagittarius. They won't meet up because that would be a new moon, and we've got to wait until Friday for that. But both the sun and moon will be in Sag tomorrow, and the sun will be at the 29th degrees. So it is this very potent, optimistic, restless, spontaneous energy. No, that could turn out, not sure what that was, but here I am, I'm back as I'm talking about just doing it. So yeah, that could be good. That could get you into a little trouble. I wouldn't be too spontaneous, too reckless. Jupiter's still at 0 degrees of Aries, but that's the vibe as we head into tomorrow. And right when the waning moon moves into Sagittarius, it harmonizes with Jupiter at 0 degrees. So on a physical, very basic level, you might feel this like surge of energy late tonight as the moon comes into a trine with Jupiter, and they're both at 0 degrees of fire signs. That is the energy of spontaneity. Just do it. I mean, it's a Tuesday night, so I don't know what you're all going to be doing at like 11 p.m. or even 2 a.m. Eastern time, but you might find yourself kind of jolted awake or wanting to stay up super late tonight as the moon's getting ready to move into Sagittarius, just kind of like that antsiness. Late night spontaneity is definitely possible. So yeah, take that as you will. I don't know if that's good for you or bad for you. Just don't go overboard. The moon harmonizing with Jupiter, especially at the 0 degree, brings a tendency to overdo it, to be a little too optimistic, to be a little too eager. But at the same time, we're coming back to that element of trusting that everything is going to be okay. It's easier to do that. And honestly, that's why we're a little more spontaneous and impulsive, because it's like, just do it. It'll be fine, you know? So it's a fine line. It's a fine balance to find there. But if you need a little push, the moon and Jupiter will give it to you. If you don't need a little push, just be mindful with how you're spending your energy tonight. Katie says, feeling this final death, what was before, I can move to what is and what will be. A lot of grief and moving past my family of origin to be present and receive the joy of the family I have created. You're on a beautiful path. And even just writing this out for all of us to witness and hearing it back to you is part of the releasing process. It's part of your grieving process, and we're all here for you. And you're not alone. You're not alone, and you're so strong to have these realizations and be aware of what's happening. There are so many people who just, especially around this time of year, pacify themselves with alcohol and food and just don't really want to face how they're really feeling. So the fact that you're able to identify this and be intentional about this process you're going through is really powerful. Elena asks, how do you calculate your progressed placements? There are lots of different calculators online. I've personally used the one from AstroSeek because that's what I use for all of my calculations for everything. It's just the site I personally like best, but I believe astro.com has a progressed moon calculator. So yeah, I would just Google calculate my progressed moon, see what site calls to you, and put in your birth information, and you can find out. Rachel's feeling everything Katie's saying. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Tanner says, I like to make my own candles and infuse them with light. Anytime anyone asks for good vibes, I light one and set an intention for assistance from their guides and the beings of light that I work with. If anyone wants a candle lit for them, let me know. Thank you for that offer. That's incredible. I just got the coolest little handmade like oracle card holder that has room for a tea light in front of it. I just need to get tea lights to use with it. But candle magic is powerful regardless of what kind of candle it is. Using intention and infusing your intention into a candle is something that our ancestors have been doing for thousands of years. And it's a very witchy thing to do, but it's very magical and powerful. Yes. Corby says, you can light a candle for me. Rachel would also love one. Oh, and I will light a candle for you as well. Yeah, if you could just light a collective candle for all of us in this community, I would really appreciate that. Thank you, Tanner. That Sagittarius 29-degree sun, really feeling the generosity, and I'm here for it. I love that Sagittarius vibe. We're all feeling more social, more generous, more optimistic. And we're soaking in the last couple days of Sagittarius season. Tomorrow will be Capricorn season, will be the winter solstice, followed by this new moon, a lot of Capricorn energy coming up, and Christmas, the most Capricorn holiday. Does feel like it's a bit Sagittarius energy too, Christmas, right? Like you get a present, but yeah, Capricorn season is almost here. So this is also a powerful day as the moon moves into Sagittarius tonight to reflect on what area of your chart is ruled by Sagittarius and what has transpired over the past 30 days, over the past month, while the sun has been moving through that part of your chart. I like to look at the beginning of a season and at the end because we're not, we can't tell exactly what's coming up on the path ahead, but it is nice, a nice way to process and review by just being like, for example, if you are a Sagittarius rising, the sun moved from your 12th house to your first house. So it might have been this huge energy of death and rebirth and renewal that came for you during Sagittarius season. But I think I'm going to start, one of my intentions is to start infusing more of those check-ins into these live streams. Like what transpired for you while the sun was moving through Sagittarius at the beginning and at the end of the season. Same with the moon phases and cycles. So yeah, a great way to use astrology just for personal reflection, right? That's what astrology ultimately is for me. It's a way to reflect on my own emotions by seeing how they're being mirrored by the cosmos, by our solar system, and the beginnings and ends of seasons are great points to do that, especially because it's not just a new astrological season, it's the winter solstice, and rebirth energy is huge coming off of the winter solstice. Oh, good. Corby loves the check-ins. It's been a learning process over the last year, but there are a few things that I'm like, I want to start doing this a little more and that a little more. And I've got some ideas up my sleeve for 2023. It's just a matter of how quickly I can execute them without overwhelming myself. So stay tuned. Nick says, I have Uranus and Neptune both in Sagittarius in the first house. Yes, because you're a Scorpio rising, right? But Sagittarius is part of your first house. So for you, yeah, there might have been some big dreams or changes that came up during this season as the sun moved over your Uranus and Neptune. But also now I'm assuming the sun is in your second house and you might be more thinking about money and income and your values. Katie also... Oh, yeah. So your Sagittarius energy is more of that 12th house energy then, right? And there's a lot of releasing happening for you. We know you've been going through it and you've been sharing that with us so beautifully. So Capricorn season should feel a lot more refreshing for you. Let's all just, we envision that for Katie, sending light ahead on her journey, that she's going to feel more confident, more stable during Capricorn season, and this rebirth of herself to come in 2023. It's nice. having a Capricorn rising is like nice for timing with, the regular calendar we use, because right around the new year, you probably get this new energy with the sun moving into your first house and so on and so forth. Ah, beautiful. Rachel says, I'm currently making those mini intention gifts to put under my tree under the new moon, trying to manifest some love and positivity. Great, great thing to do under a new moon. Nick says there was a German Yule candlestick called a Julchter, maybe that's how you say it, that was used during the winter solstice for at least a few centuries, but the Germans misused it in World War II. Interesting. Yeah, and I'm sure you're all seeing, if you're tapped into paganism and astrology and spirituality and all the things, the synchronicities between like Yule and the winter solstice, and how Christmas was basically a tactic to Christianize or infuse religion into already pagan traditions. You know the deal. Rachel, also, I didn't forget, Venus is on top of my Uranus and Neptune and Capricorn. What does that mean for all of us with these placements? Yeah, so here's the chart. Where's Venus? Venus is at 13 degrees. Mercury is at 19 degrees. So anybody with those Uranus, Neptune placements, that conjunction, or they're probably close to each other if you were born sometime in the 90s, we are getting a lot of mental and relational awareness infused into our own Neptune and Capricorn placements. So especially with this Neptune and Uranus placements in Capricorn, especially with this being in Capricorn, there is this almost like need to understand the long-term changes, to understand the long-term dreams, and this desire to align with those changes and align with these big dreams we have. So you might be feeling that coming up more, like just this desire to know where it's all going to go. And Uranus and Neptune, this conjunction, it's like we want to do it differently, but also with Venus and Mercury crossing over these placements, there's kind of this sense of like needing it now, or this urgency for it to happen now, because we're more aware of these energies within us. Hopefully that made sense. Of course, it will show up differently depending on what part of your chart is ruled by Capricorn, what part of your chart Uranus and Neptune are in, but that is something to keep in mind. Venus and Mercury crossing over our Uranus and Neptune placements for those of us who have them in Capricorn. The candle is lit. I'm envisioning the candle, and so grateful that you're infusing your intentions into it for all of us. Beautiful. Sending light ahead to Katie and to everyone watching this. I see beautiful things in all of your futures. And that's not like a witchy psychic way of saying that. That's just me knowing that you're all these beautiful souls who love to come here and support each other. And that energy alone sends light ahead for you and for your path and for each other. Yes, yeah, definitely feeling that 12th house energy. Endings, healing, kind of wanting to go into your own little cocoon. Sag is in your second house, Corby. So this season might have been more about, money, income, jobs, or even just your values that you've been having more awareness around. It would be cool if it was a witchy psychic way of saying that. I mean, I don't want to, there's enough fake accounts of me telling people that they see, like, I see your future. I'm not that person. So I always want to differentiate myself from people like that. Like, I'm not saying I see your bright future like it's some crystal ball. I just feel your energy and feel how bright each of you are and how much love you have to share with the world and how much love is going to come back to you because of that. And I feel it because you share that with me every day. So I'm really feeling grateful for this community today, especially on a day where there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of what if, what could happen? Jupiter's in Aries. What are we going to start? What are we going to do? What is the next chapter going to look like? There's kind of this antsiness. but it's nice to be grounded and connected with all of you in the midst of it. So that brings us to our affirmation. I trust in the next chapter. Jupiter in Aries is like flipping the page. It's like opening a brand new book, honestly, and trusting that we're going to like the book, that the next chapter is exactly the information we need to know, the experiences we need to have, just really trusting in whatever is to come for us. I trust in the next chapter. And we'll finish up today with a tarot pull. I'm going to pull from one of my very favorite decks, the Lightworker Oracle deck. This one does have very long descriptions, so it's going to be juicy regardless. But this is my go-to deck if I'm feeling any sort of uncertainty and I'm really looking for a powerful message. This is the deck I use. It's the very first deck I bought. And I don't know if I told you guys this before, but when I went to go buy this deck, I knew I was like, this is my first Oracle deck. I have to like really be drawn to it. And I sat on the floor of this spiritual shop for like 30 minutes trying to decide which deck to get. I was like, which one is calling me? And this was the one. So it hasn't failed me yet. It always has very powerful messages. In fact, I just pulled from it a few days ago and got the same message I got from it the time before. And I was like, okay, I guess I needed to hear that again. So we will see what needs to come through for us today as we head into a new season astrologically. Weather-wise, we're going into winter, right? Katie says, I haven't really been aware of my 12th house transits before. There is a heaviness and like an intense buildup that feels like it's building to burst, but in a good way. Yeah. Well, it's preparing you for that first house energy, right? And now the moon is about to move into your 12th house too. So you'll be very attuned to that 12th house energy probably in the next day or so, especially because the sun won't move into your first house for at least a couple days into Capricorn season. So yeah, pay attention. Now you know, you're aware of it. Like, okay, this is what the 12th house feels like. What's coming up for me? And take note for the next time the moon and the sun are moving through that part of your chart, or any major planets are moving through that part of your chart. You probably just had Venus and Mercury move through your 12th house as well. So there's been a lot of 12th house activation for you, Katie. All right. Let's all take a collective deep breath and see what message needs to come through. The deepest breath you've taken all day. The greatest gift you can give to yourself is a nice deep breath. Here we go. Breathing in. Holding it. Sending light into the cards. And release. What do we need to know? Trust in the plan. Card number 13. Trust in the plan. Of course it's a card about trust. It's funny too, because this card, I don't know how well you can see it, but the man is like meditating on it with light coming out of his heart chakra. And then he has all the planets that he's connecting to with his third eye. So that's pretty cool. It feels very linked to the planets and the astrology just from the illustration. And here's what it says. Trust in the plan. In preparation for radical growth, there can be temporary disorder and chaos. Whilst the mind may worry that something is going wrong, the spirit knows that this is the way for the old to disassemble so the new can be formed. Although you may feel out of control during such times, you do not need to resist the process. There is no need to attempt to impose your own sense of order upon the greater plan. You do not need to seek solutions, for there is no problem here in need of solving. What has been is being cleared away in preparation for the next chapter of your life. Have faith, all is well. Do not fear. You may see the life you have known appears to be ending. You may find that things you used to do or the way you used to think no longer seem as relevant as they once were. You may feel your relationships and friendships are changing. Some may even be ending. Perhaps you find you no longer have the energy or motivation to keep certain relationships going in your life. However, your energy is meant to be withdrawing from what it once supported. This is not an abandonment or betrayal. It's not selfish, it is honest. When you trust in your spiritual growth, all that happens is love. That means that even an apparent loss always serves love, whether that is immediately obvious or not. It is sometimes necessary for both parties to become free to live their true destiny. Life is a loving, creative journey for your soul. That means there will be times when the very thing you have worked toward needs to crumble so that the next evolution of your soul manifestation upon the earth can take place. It is natural, and although it can be challenging to trust in a greater creative process during times when it seems as though there is only chaos and confusion, you are strong enough spiritually to do so. To feel peace during such times, you must trust in your own inner knowing over what appears to be. You are divinely scheduled to evolve at this point in your life. Can you sense an exciting growth phase happening for you? There is another way for you to live, to be, to thrive, and to love in the world, and you are rapidly heading towards it. This is a time to surrender control and allow a higher power to direct your course. Many exciting new opportunities, situations, and connections will come into your life as a result of what you are experiencing now. It is all part of a greater divine intelligence unfolding in loving service to your own sacred life path. Have faith and stay true to your spiritual principles. Trust in an unfolding higher plan. Know that all changes in your life serve your higher good. The universe knows what you need and is in the process of delivering it to you now. All is happening for a greater purpose. You can flow with the changes in loving trust. Your perfect time for resurrection will follow this deconstruction, and it will occur in the perfect way. Wow. Wow. That's all I have to say about that. Very much feels aligned with the 12th house energy. We were talking about Katie and everybody experiencing a 12th house transit right now, and just experiencing going into winter, this winter solstice moment when it seems dark. The things that are unraveling for a reason. The endings, the cord cutting that's happening now is happening for a reason. Yeah, Corby, seems like it's in alignment with the transit and cord cutting. The Scorpio moon, Jupiter and Aries, starting a new chapter, even if we can't fully understand what that chapter looks like just yet. Yes, and perfect card for Jupiter leaving Pisces into Aries. I'm so glad you said that, Tanner, because I'm like, collectively, it really does feel like we've been going through this 12th house transit. Pisces rules the 12th house. Pisces is all about the 12th house. Aries is all about the first house. So Jupiter, our great benefic, moving from the 12th house to the first house energy. Maybe it's not doing that in your chart, but just in general, feels like that trusting in what's next, trusting in the unknown, trusting in the next chapter. Trust in the changes happening, Rachel says, and let go of the people and things who are supposed to leave now. You are not in control. Everything will be okay. Needed to hear this today, even though it hurts. Right there with you, girl. Right there with you. So many tears and release for me right now. Yeah, I was holding back some tears of my own when I was reading that. Lots of loss for me these past couple years. My Aquarius, Capricorn, Virgo energy wants to create all the solutions. Oh, wow, I resonate with that. I've been really just trying to like trust and flow and let things unfold because the fixer, Virgo, in me wants to be like, I can just fix it. I'll just like make it all okay. You know, I'll just go do something grand and dramatic. Jupiter's at 0 degrees. Let's just do something and make everything fine. You know, like I'll just pacify it, wrap it up in nice gift wrap, put it under the tree. Everything will be fine. Right. But sometimes it's just allowing things to fall away, allowing yourself to let things go in order to make room for the next chapter. A huge act of trust for me to let that go and just let go the need to know. Yeah. Yep. And the need to act. Yeah. Just like I was saying, like I really just want to do something. And that's kind of this 0 degree Jupiter Aries energy. Is like, I just want to do something, you know. Aries is the doer. So we just want to take action and we have this eagerness and this optimism, like we'll just do something and it'll all work out, right? But right now, at least in this moon phase, it's all about surrendering and letting go. With the sun moving into a new sign, with a new moon on Friday, there will be time for action in the next week or so. There will be time to do that. But just based on the transits, now is the time to release, surrender, let go, and trust. Trust in what's coming next. That doesn't mean you don't have to do anything, right? But now is not the time to start anything new, to fix anything. It's just the time to trust and surrender. Wow was the right word. Yeah, Nick. It was a powerful card. Solidarity to Nick for that 12th house energy. Yeah. Yeah, the 12th house is intense. It's definitely intense. All right, everybody. With that beautiful reminder to trust in the plan, I just want to reiterate one more time that this is a safe space. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you continuing to show up to this community, to support each other, to send light and love to each other energetically from all these different parts of the world that we're tuning in from. And also, I just want to personally thank you for continuing to show up for me, because I need this community just as much as you do. So with that, I will be back tomorrow. We'll be talking about the winter solstice, the spiritual meaning of the winter solstice. I know a few of you have lots of powerful information about this time of year that you might want to share. So feel free to come with your insights about the winter solstice and how different cultures have observed it, because we'll be chatting about that. We'll be chatting about Capricorn season and the transits to come. And thank you. Yeah, so excited to see what's ahead for us all. It was a treat, Corby. Thank you. And one of my intentions, one of my goals is to, I know I keep saying this, to find a more regular time, but right now where I'm at in my life, just showing up here feels like an accomplishment. And I just keep telling myself, like, just keep showing up, just keep showing up. So I am so grateful that you keep showing up too. Truly, it means a lot to me. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you for creating this safe space too. You all being here is what creates it. You don't have to apologize for the heaviness. A lot of us are feeling it. Yeah, and we're holding space for you. This is the place to do it. Even someone on Instagram is saying, heavy stuff, grateful for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're thankful for you too. Thank you for being here. Yes. Oh, Rachel, I just want to make you all cookies. Well, I will accept some virtual cookies in the form of like cookie energy. I'll just feel the warmth and pretend I'm smelling like some chocolate chip cookies or something. Trust in Olivia's witchy psychic ways. This is a beautiful reflection, Gretchen. I want to honor this since we haven't heard from you this live stream. She says, my family has dealt with such sadness this year. I want to welcome all goodness, joy, happiness, and love. I am so beyond ready to step into the new and hope for much better days ahead. Love and light. Sending that to you, Gretchen, and seeing it for you already. It's waiting for you. 2023 is going to be so much lighter and has so much in store so much more in store than you can even possibly imagine. And that goes not just for you, but for all of us. So sending you love, sending so much gratitude. I will see you tomorrow. But until I see you next, know that you are loved, know that you're supported here, and stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.